to right, from left to right. If you are left-handed and you know Arabic, because Arabic language writes from right to left. Okay? Whereas Russian or English, they write from left to right. If you are left-handed and you know Arabic, right, it says this
Right
in Arabic.
from left side to right side.
Yes. So, that's okay. You have now lots of ideas how to warm up. And there are lots of other ideas. I just shared with you a few. Okay, so let's continue, please. After you have warmed up, it shouldn't last too long. Just 10 minutes maximum of warm-ups, and then you move to working on the solutions. But it's a good exercise to start with. So here are a few of the tools that are used to generate ideas of solutions. We call it divergent ideas. It means ideas that are really different from each other. I won't be able to present them all today. I will maybe present Watchtower, Scamper, and orally explain TRIZ. I thought that you were familiar with TRIZ. That's why I didn't prepare slides for it. But I could explain what it is about. The how-how diagram, the Dunker diagram are also other famous tools used in order to come up with new ideas. But I will focus only on the three first ones because of time management. So guys, ready? Okay. So if you're trying to work on different ideas of solutions, start with warm-ups and then choose one of these tools to continue the process, working on the solutions for the problem. So the Watchtower is the first one. Let me show you how that works. You use a chair in groups or individually, better in groups, and you take something to write with and you sit on your chair. Then you ask yourself the question. So around me, I see my direct surroundings. This is who I am, and this is my direct environment. So with my identity, with my environment and resources, how can I solve this problem? And then you allow your ideas to flow and you write them. But the next step is the most interesting one. You stand up. And when you stand up, you look around you. And the perspective you have when you're standing up is wider than when you are sitting, right? So your body and your eyes see more things when you're standing than when you're seated. And you ask yourself the question, how my competitors, how my customers, how my suppliers, external stakeholders, how would they solve the same problem? Okay? So your body sees more, and your brain is invited to think about solutions that will be applied by other people, external people, and you trust the process. New ideas will come, and you write them down. You can even go higher metaphorically and physically. You can stand on your chair, you can stand on the table, you can go outside and go to an upper floor, or if you're on a staircase, you can go to the upper stairs. And then you look around you again. From the ground floor, I see limited view. But if I go to the upper floors and I look around me, I see the city. So I ask a question. How would people in international places solve the same problem? How would people in this country solve the same problem? How would an alien, not even from Earth, solve the same problem? And you allow the ideas to come. Because when you put yourself in the perspective of others, you remove the blocks. You remove the mental blocks. You're no longer constrained with your immediate resources. You think in terms of freedom of ideas. You write down what comes to your mind. So this is the idea behind Watchtower, and it's really effective. You could try it. For those who would like to take notes, I have some explanations here. So you start with the problem statement. IW means I want. H2 means how to. So you state your problem this way. I want to visit Morocco. How to visit Morocco. Okay? And when you are seated on your chair, you see around you with your limitations, with your resources, and you think about the possible solutions for you. And you write them down. When you stand up, ask the same question again. How could I go to Morocco? But from the perspective of other students or students from other universities. Okay? And when you're on top of the table or up on the stairs, upper floor, again, this is the same question. How would people from this country or another country go to Morocco? How would they manage? What solution would they choose? And they write the ideas. The point here is to get quantity of ideas, and afterwards they would trigger innovative solutions. So that's the principle for Watchtower. Here are the details, what I've been saying. So I hope you could give it a try. And there is another tool I'd like to share with you after this one. So any questions about this? It's also funny when we do it in groups because you can't really predict the ideas that will come. And it's physical. So when you move your body, it's more fun. It's more creative. Don't be too serious. In this step here, you need to go crazy. Serious comes afterwards. So another tool I want to share with you, if you're done with this. Good. It's called the Scamper. It's also a very popular tool. It has been used by big firms such as McDonald's or Dell, Amazon, Apple, US companies, because US is the father of mother of problem solving. So the inventor of this method is the same inventor as for brainstorming. He's a business analyst, business strategist called Alex Osborne. And we are still using brainstorming all over the world. We use it as individuals, all know it. But Scamper has the same popularity as brainstorm in the workplace for managers. That's why I wanted you to know it too. So how does that work? Scamper is actually an acronym. It stands for S is substitute, C is combine, M is is adapt, M is modify, P is put to another use, E eliminate, and R is for reverse. Okay, so let me show you this here in pictograms. So substitute is replace a product or process or step of the process with another one. This is what substitute means here. Combine, you add something or you change a part of the process or the product with another thing. Now combine is putting together two different items, adding another component. Adapt is changing only part of the process or the product. Modify is changing the entire product or service or process. Put to another use, this is what you have been doing with the bottle. So have additional uses to the same object. Eliminate, well, you purely, simply try to figure out how to work without this product or process or service. And reverse, you turn it upside down and you start from the end, for example, if it's a process. And it could give way to really interesting ideas. I will share with you examples of innovations, industrially speaking, and in management that used Scamper. It would help you understand how really popular it is, even if we don't know it all at school, but once in the workplace, we'll discover they know it a lot, they use it a lot. especially bigger firms. So guys, ready for the examples? Okay, so let's start with S. S uses the example of this object. Maybe you remember when we didn't have smartphones but dumb phones. They had a screen plus a keyboard, right, attached to it. Sometimes they fold. But when we had internet on the phones, we needed more space on the screen because we needed to read what's on the internet's website pages. So what was the solution? To shrink the size of the keyboard in order to have a wider space for the screens. At some point we needed to use a pen in order to be able to text because the keyboard was really tiny and your finger would push 2 buttons instead of 1. If you remember this, but you're too young maybe for some of you. So the solution, the breakthrough, was to substitute the screen keyboard to a touch screen. So this is an innovation. Now we take it for granted, but at some point it was really a breakthrough. So they substituted the cell keyboard with a touch screen, and this solved the problem because now all the surface of the objects is a screen. So we don't need to find a balance between keyboard or screen at all. So that was an example of substitute. Combine means you put together 2 objects, 2 items, 2 processes, and they become one. We still call this object a phone, right?
Yes.
But if you compare the percentage of time you use this object and the percentage of time you dedicate to calls or to texts in this period, what would be the percentage? How often maybe do you use this object for calls and texts, and how much time do you use it for something different? Do you have an idea? Do you use it all the time for calls and texts only?
No.
No. Of course not. So what are the other functions of this object? I call it on-purpose object. I don't call it phone. What are the other things you do with this object?
Take photos.
Take photos. Okay, so it is an object that combines phone with photo.
As a calculator.
Sorry?
As a calculator.
Calculator. Very good. Social media? Yes.
Social.
No, I can make my researches with them.
Research. Yeah, research. Very good.
TV or radio also.
Definitely.
Listen to music.
Play games.
Games? Yes, definitely.
Record.
Well, call is the first.
No, record.
Record. Yes, recording. Very good.
Listen to music.
Yes, listening to music. Okay. Just remember what you do with this object. Alarm clock in the morning. As soon as you wake up, before you wake up, it starts working for you as an alarm clock. So do you still purchase alarm clocks, calculators, cameras?
Watching films.
Okay. This is an object that combines several other objects. This is my point. Okay. We still continue to call it phone, but maybe it's something different than a phone. If we consider the ratio of time you use this object for calls compared with other functions. It's a personal assistant now rather than a phone. And it combines several features from different products that you no longer purchase the other products. So what's the third letter is A, which stands for, do you remember? What does A stand for? Adapt. Very good. So adapt means you're using a technology for another object. And the technology here that has been adapted to another object is the ballpoint in ballpoint pens. Can I have one of your pens? So you know the technology behind this object, right? There is a tiny ballpoint here that allows the ink to flow just the necessary quantity for you to write. If it wasn't there, you would have too much ink going out and you would have messy writing. So this helps give regular flow to ink. So this technology has been adapted to roll-on deodorants. And you know how they work? they have this huge point, the same technology, but on a larger scale. It has been adapted from this object. This is also an example of scamper used for deodorants. Modify. Yes, menu in restaurants who transform into buffet, open buffet. So they replace the menu with an open buffet. This is also an example of scamper. It has been developed after scamper sessions. Put to another use, it's something that happened during COVID lockdown, because at the beginning, the first weeks, people needed masks to be in contact with other people, but it was not really easy to find them on the market, or it was too expensive, so people tried to find other solutions meanwhile, namely coffee filters, because they use the same material, so people use them as masks. This is put into another use. So there are several examples here, but I chose this one today. Eliminate. You know the bronze Dell for computers? It has a specificity in terms of management. It has no intermediary between the manufacturer and the end consumer. This is their business model. So they eliminated the intermediary, the retailer. When you want to purchase a computer from Dell, you get in contact directly with the manufacturer and they will customize the product for you directly. Same for Amazon, between manufacturer and final consumer. The final letter, the R, the example I'm sharing with you also is managerial. What happens in fast foods and started with McDonald's. This is a McDonald's initiative and then it was applied by other fast food restaurants. You know what happens in fast food restaurants? It was unheard of before. Nobody would pay before they eat. But they provided this innovative approach to food industry where you pay first and then you eat. And it also combines actually with eliminate, because they eliminated part of the service, which is the waiter. There is no longer now in the process of serving customers a waiter who is intermediary between customer and the kitchen. Okay. Yes. So that's about reverse. So, scamper again is very popular, and you need to know about it. Try to research it, discover other examples, see techniques how to use it, and if you can practice it, it's going to be useful. I hope you will do that. So the last example of tools that I was not planning on sharing with you because I thought you will tell me about it more is the trace. As I told you, it's teoria решения, изобретателите скетчи задач, and it allows for a huge database of patents to be, TRIZ actually is the database. It collects hundreds of thousands of patents from industrials. These patents are rewritten in terms of principles. There is a concept in TRIZ that's called the 40 principles. I don't know how it is said in the Russian. The 40 principles are managerial. They allow to rewrite the patent in terms of how does it work exactly, what it is doing. If you take the example of cheese, cream cheese, so we have la vache qui rit in Morocco. I don't know what is similar here in Russia. For those who are living here and understand la vache qui rit. So you have this box of cream cheese, and inside you have smaller packaging of the same cream cheese, but in individual packaging. You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we have other brands.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think La Vache qui rit was the one to start it. Okay. Yes. So this idea here is patented. Okay. having the box of cream cheese in individual portions in triangular shape. This is patented, but it means that other people would apply the same idea but in management. This is what trees allows you to do. You transform your problem into a language that the database understands, which is what do I need? If I am a mall and at the same time I have shops inside and I want people also to have drinks and rest when they are inside the mall because sometimes they get tired and they want to drink something. But I don't want to have a dedicated coffee shop inside the mall because it's going to be overcrowded with people and they won't be purchasing. They won't be buying products. They will be sitting just in the cafe shop. So they came up with the idea of having coffee shops inside the other shops. So when you come to like bookstores, you want to spend some time looking for books, but in a corner you will have a coffee shop. So you sit there and you enjoy the book, warm drink, but it's inside the coffee shop. So this is one item inside another principle, and there are like 40 principles similar to that. If you have access to internet now, you could look up websites. This is the one I use. It's called 40 principles in all letters.com. And it allows for this search for the main idea of my problem. What do I really want to solve? And you have a list of possible solutions applied by industrials. They list the industrials' ideas and you pick from them what you could use for your own problem. So the website is called 40 Principles, 3W, 40principles.com. So please show me what you got for those who have it, because I don't have Wi-Fi here. We're short of time. Maybe you could do that by yourselves. I need to manage time for the last part, because I don't want to keep you later than 1:30. So this is a website you could look up yourselves and discover how that works. And since URFU also has connections with industrials, I'm sure there are departments or services or teachers at URFU who use trees. You could just ask questions about what you could do with it. So I'd like to dedicate the last part of today's session to the last step I'm covering today, which is how to select. If you have used a creative tool and now you came up with lots of ideas, you put them, you try to take the relevant ones, try to have at least 3 different alternatives to pick from, and then you use tools to select one of them. So normally people would just look at all the solutions they have, the possibilities, and pick one. They allow their intuition to choose for them. That's what we do normally. You feel that the solution will work. This looks like a good idea, and we use it intuitive way. But in the workplace, you need to have a budget for solutions. You need to get support from hierarchy. So it's better to use a structured way, so a specific tool, and I will show you an easy one to apply. Quite easy. First of all, I will explain to you the 2 different categories of solutions, a few criteria to compare them. Then there is this tool called Decision Matrix that applies the criteria. And when you can't apply any criteria, you use something called multi-voting. So I have a challenge. I want to finish this in 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. Yeah. In terms of categories of solutions, just be aware that there are the satisfactory solutions and the optimal solutions. You guys understand what that means? The satisfactory solutions are the minimum requirement solutions, the ones that help you solve the problem the easiest way, but they are not very effective. That means they are not going to reduce all the gap, just the necessary part that allows the problem to be solved. But optimal one, when you have time, you will search for a better idea, which is optimal solution. It's the best available to meet the requirements. So what's the constraint here in this slide? You need to know your minimum standards of acceptability. That's why you have the gap analysis at the beginning of the process to explain the desired situation. What are the minimum requirements for me to say that my problem is solved? If I have an issue with customer satisfaction and my current rate of satisfaction is 10%. 10% of my customers are satisfied. This is very bad. So I need to solve it. But how would I know that the solution is effective? Is the solution that helps me get to 50% a good one for me? Is it enough? Or do I target 80% or 90% or 100%? So you need to fix this objective at the beginning. This is your minimum standard of acceptability. If you think that 75% of satisfaction is good enough, so this is your minimum standard of acceptability, and the first solution that offers this is satisfaction. But if a solution offers higher than 75%, if it offers 100%, it's an optimal solution. Clear? So you need to identify your goal first in order to apply this. If you have quantitative data about the solutions, you could measure the ideality ratio. Oh, here it is. You compare the benefits of the solution to the costs and the harms. Everyone understands the word harms? Okay, the negative outcomes. It's like if someone has fever and they use an antibiotic. There is a benefit to the antibiotic, right? The lower the fever. But there is a cost, which is the cost, the money you pay for the antibiotic. And the harm is maybe issues, stomach issues, or diarrhea that goes with the antibiotic. Okay? You need to measure benefits on one side, costs and harms on the other side, and see the balance. If the ratio is lower than 1, what does that mean? If this ratio is lower than 1, inferior to 1,
This means
what does that mean here?
This means that we have no harm on the ideal solution.
Yes, so but practically it means that costs and harms are higher than the benefits. So this is not a good solution for you. If the ratio equals 1,
benefits equal cost and
absolutely. So this is a satisfactory solution. Satisfactory solutions have an ideality ratio of 1. Okay? As many benefits as costs and harms on the other side. So your goal, if you have time to search for a better solution, is to look for a solution with a ratio that is higher than 1. The higher, the better. Clear?
yes.
But in other conditions, you can't measure the ideality ratio because you can't have a precise information about benefits or costs and harms. Then you use criteria. And here are the main criteria we use to selection of solutions. We compare solutions on their efficiency, their quality. We also compare solutions on their based on their costs. Which one is more expensive? Which one is cheaper? Same for resources. Which ones requires more or less resources? You compare solutions also based on deadlines. Which one will take longer or shorter for implementation? Which one will take longer or shorter to get results? So these are important criteria to use to compare solutions. You could also add practicality. Which one is easier to implement or more complex to implement? So finally, there is the idea of risk. Which one has a higher innovation risk, which means we are not certain of the outcome. Nobody has tried it before. And which one is quite certain there is no innovation risk because it has already been tried, so we know exactly what to expect. So these are the main criteria to select solutions. I have a question for you. Which of these criteria are positive, which are negative? Do you understand my question first? So we could start with the efficiency. Is it positive or negative?
Both.
Positive. So we want solutions with higher efficiency. What about cost?
Negative.
Negative. Resources?
Both.
Negative. because resources is also a form of cost. Deadlines?
Negative.
Positive? Negative.
Negative.
Do you look for solutions that take longer or shorter?
Shorter.
Shorter. So it's a negative criterion. Practicality?
Positive.
Positive.
Positive. And innovationness?
Negative.
Negative. So you absolutely need to understand if your criterion is negative or positive before you apply it, because it's going to impact directly how you score the solution on this criterion. So the tool that would use these criteria would be the decision matrix. And by the way, the criteria I showed are only the main criteria. There are lots of others you could adapt to your situation, but just an indicator for you. So here are the steps to use decision matrix. The hardest parts are the first two ones. Which criteria will I use? We need to agree on the criteria for comparison. And then which criteria are more important than all the others? We need to weigh them. You know what is a weight for a criteria? The importance, you transform it into a weight coefficient. Okay? So these two first steps are actually the ones that will impact the rest. For the rest, it's easy if you do the first one, the two first ones correctly. And I will give you an example of how to do that. So criteria are selected, and you give them a weight according to their importance. And afterwards, you simply score solutions on the criteria. For example, costs. If you have the criterion of cost and you give it a high weight because you are tight on budget, so you give costs a higher weight, right? Then you compare the three solutions, if you have three solutions to compare, based on cost. You collect information about the costs. Which one will cost us higher? Which one will cost us cheaper? Which one is in between? And according to how they rank on costs, you will give them a score. So would you give the highest score to the cheapest or to the most expensive? To the cheapest, because cost is a negative criterion. You give a better score to the cheapest solution. Clear? So that's why it's important to make sure you're using the criteria correctly, negative and positive. Well, 4 and 5, you could do it on Excel directly. Times the weight and then the total. So I will show you an example here. There's a nice problem to solve. Maybe at the end of the year you would like to go on a trip all together. To be nice. But you can't agree on the destinations. You have shortlisted 3 destinations, and you want to make sure you have the best destinations possible for the group. So what are the destinations again? Here? Yes, 3 nice paradisiac islands, okay, with nice weather, beaches. So in order to make the decision which of these 3 destinations we'll go to, so are you already planning on the vacation? Remember, this tool is called decision matrix, so it helps us make a decision. So if we want to agree, all of us, we need to identify the criteria first, and here are the criteria I choose them. So entertainment means fun activities, right? Culture, that's the monuments and the museums. Travel is the cost of the flight tickets, and accommodation is the cost of the hotel room. Okay, so these are the 4 criteria they identified for the destinations. Can you see the weights now? You have 2, 1, 4, 3. On a scale of 1 to 4, they ranked the criteria. Which was the most important one? Travel. And next to it, accommodation. There are 2